Hello, this is Anna Imagination. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Philosophical Coffee, Godless Church. So I just finished a session and now I'm reflecting. I've stepped back. I have a whiteboard. It's basically a note-taking area on my blog at hmsalexandria.org. That is available on the link below. So you can follow along if you want to take a look at the notes. I love doing this because as I talk, I can make documents and notes and all that jazz. And this is literally, this particular video is going to be me brainstorming and putting this together in my head. I have Triadic Healing, and then I have, yes, oh, do I see it? And there's the full circle. I've been waiting for this. So I put this together 40 years ago, and I've been chasing it, linking it all together. I could see parts of it. And then in 2022, I saw the end result, and all the components that I'd been building and collecting for 40 years suddenly came together. And I went, oh, that's what this is. So I put it all together. I built it. And when I was finished with it, I ended up with Triadic Healing. I ended up with the game. And I said to myself last night, oh, there's a third part here. And I couldn't figure out where the third part was. I found it. The third part is Philosophical Coffee. Philosophical Coffee is my live classes. It's my Godless Church. So I'm going to explain to you how this goes. That way we can I could just put it in my head and go, all right, this is the agenda. This is the plan. This is where I'm going to go with this. So I created a podcast a while ago. This podcast was invented in 2014. And there's a whole lot of history to it, but I'm not going to get into that. And maybe I'll talk about that. I'll probably do a whole section just for the history of the podcast. But for now, it was about 3 months ago, I had this vision of, oh my God, I'm going to be I got to get this podcast. And it was closer to a year ago. And I put it off for a very long time because I thought podcasting had to be done a certain way. We're going to talk about that. There is traditional economics, which is garbage and is based off of scarcity mindset. If you study traditional economics, you are grooming yourself for scarcity mindset and you will probably stay poor. Power economics is actual economics based off of philosophy and physics, logic, math, and economics and ethics, while also taking into account how humans interact, and it's all power-based. Power economics is literally the accumulated formula of how everybody else, billionaires and millionaires, actually make their millions and billions. That's the difference between a rich man and a poor man. A rich man is using power economics or is using the philosophy and the theory of power economics. A poor man is using traditional economics. So whenever you go and you study economics, you are actually learning poor man economics, which is why you may have studied economics and you're still poor. It's because they've embedded poor man economics with scarcity mindset. It's disgusting, but we're going to talk a lot about that. So that all being said, I took the advice before I figured that out. I took the advice of poor man economics and I thought, oh, I have to wait for my podcast. So it was about 6 months ago that I built the podcast, but I didn't really do anything structural with it. And then 3 months ago, I went Philosophical Coffee. This is what I want to do. I love Philosophical Coffee. I'm going to have mugs. I'm so excited about Philosophical Coffee. And I went ahead and started to put it together. I got it launched and I got a really good solid feel for it. I'm like, yes, this is absolutely where I want to be. But I needed to go write books. I needed to go build Triadic Healing and get my classes stabilized. And then the last week I've been putting together the game. And when I was all done and said with this, I finished the game yesterday and I went, yes, this is so awesome. And I realized what I had done. And when I looked at it, I went, whoa, I'm missing something here, but it'll come to me. So I manifested it. And this morning I woke up and boom, there it is. Because that's how manifestation works for me. So here's how this works. Yes, I also teach manifestation the right way. So we're going to go over this. How do I explain this? We're going to explain this. When you teach, if you want to be a teacher, and this is anytime you want to pass information. I really hate the word teacher, because teacher is like a podium. It's a, let's put you on a pedestal. We need to knock these people off their pedestals. Equal footing. So everyone's a teacher. I love the movie Patch Adams. Everyone's a doctor. Everyone is a healer. Everyone is a teacher. If you're a parent, boom, you're a cultivator. I call these cultivators. Now, it's not possible to be human without being a cultivator. The only people who can do this, who can be human and not cultivate, are hermits. Period. If you are a hermit, you can ignore this. This does not apply to you. If you are a hermit, this does not apply to you. For everybody else, you're a cultivator. A cultivator is somebody who requires human connection in order to exchange or trade resources. Information is a resource. So as a result, if you don't know how to connect, then you're not going to get information from point A to point B. Bottom line, if you are not a hermit, then you've got to know how to transfer information from point A to point B. So there's a formula. Here it is. It's a 4-part formula. You need philosophy or theory. Now, I'm going to use a lot of words here, but please understand that words mean something different than we were taught. So if you hear a word and you immediately have anxiety, we're like, oh, it's okay. We're going to cover that. That's actually a trauma response. So if you are somebody who cringes at any word, cringing at words is trauma. And I'm going to teach you how to dig into that. So there's philosophy or theory. And yeah, we're going to talk about also trauma words. I'm going to teach you how to find your trauma words so you can start using those as clues as to how to dig, because knowing how to dig is huge. So you have your philosophy or theory. This is understanding why someone works. That's really all this is. It's why. It's understanding why it works. It's understanding how it works. This is theory or philosophy behind anything. So if you are a musician, you're going to have to study music theory. Music theory is the why and the how it works. That's all. Everything requires theory. You cannot be a master without the theory. Almost no one has theory on several subjects. Most people do not have the theory on mathematics. So some of the subjects that we are missing the theory on is mathematics, communication, parenting, teaching, ethics, logic. Because a lot of people are lacking the theory on teaching, teachers can't teach. But my teacher was Plato. Thank God, Plato had the theory on teaching. But people don't study Plato to study his work. For some stupid reason, because of bad teachers, they study Plato the man. Don't ever study anybody the man. Don't ever study anybody the person. That's so fucking irrelevant. Small minds talk about people. Average minds talk about events. And that's all they teach you in school. People and events. Great minds talk about ideas. So Plato didn't talk about himself. When you go into philosophy today, they talk about his life and who he was. I don't even know anything about it. I have no idea who he was. I know he had La Academia, and I know his academia went on to create Alexandria. And that's all I got. That's all I know about Plato. I have no idea how old he was. I have no idea where all I know is he had one kick-ass curriculum. I know his curriculum. I know his theory. So I studied his theory. So I learned the theory of teaching. There are 4 elements to the theory of teaching. There is the theory. The other thing is application and technique. Application and technique. The last one is discussion. That's all you need. That is all you need. You want to know how to teach? There it is. 4 pieces. There you go. You already know more about teaching than every fucking teacher today. 4 elements. Theory, application, technique, discussion. not Siri, theory. I could say Siri all day long and she'll ignore me. I say the word theory and she's like, yes. Google or Apple, get it right. Now, that being said, when you understand working these four elements together, it's literally like a juicy cocktail of knowledge. When you understand that you are looking for theory, application, technique, and discussion, oh, you are set. You are fucking set. Now, there is something called the learning scope. The learning scope or the learning funnel is an extraordinary, one moment. Is anything burning? What is burning? Okay, say again. The oven is on. All right, very good. We need to clean the oven. I'm like, I smell burning, and I'm like, okay, I got kids who are cooking, which is okay, but they're fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. I just need to clean the stove. So when you are looking at the four elements, they come together, and knowing how they come together is vital to understanding how something is learned versus memorized. And this is a big problem. The learning scope is, you can Google this thing. Let me Google it now and see what I can find here, because this thing is gorgeous. I don't know who did it. La 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 la. No, I am not saying it. It was in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So I'm going to have to go back on that. And he gave a graph inside his book. And it shows you that basically when you learn information via memorization or reading or lecturing, you retain 2% or something like that of the information 3 weeks after. You don't retain it. And basically, as soon as you stop harping on your memory releases it. So you have to keep harping on your memory to keep it inside of you. If you don't practice, if you don't use it, you lose it. We need to talk about that line. If you don't use it, you lose it. I'm going to write this on the whiteboard. This is going to be like whiteboard material. So we're going to talk about, if you don't use it, you lose it. This is an idiom that was created because of bad teaching. If you don't use it, you lose it means you didn't learn it. You memorized it. Big difference. Big difference. And there's a difference between learning and memorization. Learning is the process of transferring a skill into your intuition. That is it. You are intuitively learning. That is what the skill is, intuitively learning. The next thing you have is, and that's your skill, the other side is memorization. Memorization is not learning. Now, I'm going to be blunt. Theater actress, 20 years. Educator, learner, student, philosopher for 40 years. So I'm sitting here looking at this going, memorization is not learning. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. Philosopher, learner, educated, master education, and memorization. When I memorize a script, when I memorize a song, that is not learning it. That's memorizing it. It is only going into the second level of my subconscious mind, into the memory maze. I remember when I did Oklahoma, I was in the 9th grade, and I remember where I was on stage. I remember having to learn how to stand. That didn't make me look like a cheap whore in the 1800s. Apparently that was interesting. It was so funny. I remember this. My director was like, all right, we need to pause for a minute. And my director was like, ladies, I know it's normal to stand like this, but he goes, this is the 1800s and we're all standing like this. And I went, oh. And it was suddenly a realization. He took us back to the 1800s and how they stood back then. The only ladies who stood like that back then were the sex workers. Now it's normal. Now we're all staying there with our hands on our hips and because it's modern. But back then, the only ones who did that were sex workers. And he's watching the play unfold and he's directing it and he finally couldn't handle it anymore. He's just like, ladies, can we not stand like this? It was so funny. We just cracked up laughing. I remember that. I don't remember a single line. Not a single line. I mean, I've watched the movie. I've watched the musical. It's Rodgers and Hammerstein. So I've got Poor Judd is Dead memorized because I sing it a lot because it's fucking funny. But it's memorization. It's not learning. Learning is intuitive. Learning is the process of taking something that is not in your intuition and putting it into your intuition. This is learning. When you put it into your intuition, you're turning it into a habit. You are automating it. You're literally turning it into an automation. Now, that is not learning. That is just stage 2 of learning. The next stage is being able to break down the theory of the intuition. Welcome to being a master. It is when you can break down the theory from your intuition. So you can feel it intuitively and then consciously be aware to go, this is my intuition. I know exactly what it is I'm doing. Let me explain the theory of what I'm doing. Theory or philosophy is the breakdown of your intuition into comprehensible steps and the order of operations with mathematical sequencing. This is learning. You do that, game over. I was watching Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade last night, and I call bullshit. Big bullshit. There is this moment in Indiana Jones' Last Crusade when Sean Connery slaps Indiana's face. That's for the blasphemy. It's that scene. So when they're on the not the dirt bikes, they're on the motorbikes, the motorcycles, and they're talking about whether or not they're going to go to Berlin or not. And they're talking about why they needed to go to Berlin. They needed to go to Berlin to get his diary. And he said, well, what are they? What are the 3 trials? And his father goes, and Harrison Ford says, well, don't you remember? And Sean Connery takes off his hat and says, I wrote them down in my diary so I wouldn't have to remember. Bullshit. Bullshit. When you study something for 40 years, it's in your mind. There's no memorization. I don't have note cards telling you this shit. Have you seen my note cards? I'm looking at you with eye contact because I know this shit, because I did it for 40 years, because I'm a philosopher in it. He was a philosopher in his mastery, supposedly, but he memorized it? Oh, no. You don't memorize it when you're a master, which means he's not a master. You don't have the knowledge he has unless you're a master. It is a writing error. It's because, I love you, Steven Spielberg, he doesn't understand the theory of learning. So this is a huge logical fallacy in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I'm pointing to my TV like you can see it. And to hear him say, I wrote them down in my diary because I couldn't remember. I'm going, well, then you're an apprentice. You didn't study this for 40 years, because when you study it for 40 years, you don't need to consult a book. It's in your intuition. This is what improv is based on. Whenever you see a teacher refreshing the course, now you can go over, like, the most I'll have, no, not even. I will write myself one word, just like, here you go. On my last video, I wrote down trauma words. Oh, wait, it was this video. I just flipped my page. So I wrote down trauma words. I don't have to, I don't need any notes. I know exactly what I'm going to talk on that. I pull on trauma words. There you go. That's all I need. So I'll look at trauma words. Got it. That's the subject of today. I just need the thesis. Just give me the subject of discussion and I'm good. That's mastery. You don't need notes or diaries. You don't need to remember. There's no memory. Your memory is not, my memory has nothing to do with this. It's intuitive. I'm reading my intuition. That's what I'm doing right now. So I don't have to consult books. I don't have to pull anything out of my ass. I don't have to consult quotes. I have people who want to quote Ayn Rand at me. They want to discuss philosophers. Why are we discussing their ideas? They're not my ideas. I don't know what Ayn Rand thought. I do actually a lot. I love Ayn Rand. Bad example. I don't know what Immanuel Kant thought. I have no idea what Immanuel Kant philosophized. I have no idea. Don't give a shit. Not my philosophy. That's his philosophy. I have no idea what Calvin Hobbes philosophy. Actually, that I do. Thomas Hobbes. I said Calvin Hobbes. Thomas Hobbes was the something of wealth. See, I know Thomas Hobbes from politics and economics, not philosophy, because the Commonwealth, the wealth of nations. That's what he wrote. And the only reason why I know anything about the philosophy, quote unquote, of Thomas Hobbes was because I was helping my daughter with her history homework on the American government a few months ago. And I went, oh, that's what he did. I don't know. That's not what Plato talked about. Plato is my teacher. Plato didn't teach me about Kant because Kant didn't exist yet. Plato did not teach me about anything but Socrates and Aristotle. Those are my teachers. Classic Greek philosophy. That's all I got. That's all I got, people. I got Confucius in my brain. I've got, this I love. I've got the et in Piglet. I've got that in my brain. I've got the et in Piglet in my brain. I've got Buddhism in my brain. But I don't have anything beyond the Greek philosophers. So I'll have people come up to me to try and talk to me. Okay, and I've got a lot of Ayn Rand in here. But I have people coming up to me wanting to talk to me about some great philosopher from a certain time period. And I look at them and go, I'm not here to discuss on somebody else's ideas. I'm here to discuss my own from my work that Plato taught me. Small minds talk about people. Small minds talk about events. Great minds talk about ideas. So I talk about ideas. I learned the tools of thinking, and then I thought. Most people don't do that. We're going to say that again. I studied the tools of thinking. That's what I learned from Plato and Socrates. They teach you the thinking tools. That's all. That's all it was. They just teach you how to think, how to use your brain. That's all it is. So when you decide to learn something, understanding the big difference between memorization and learning is huge, because what you are doing is you are literally choosing a skill, and you have said, I'm going to turn this into my intuition. That's what you've done. Every time you decide to learn a skill or a trade, you are learning, you are choosing to turn it into your intuition, and then habit. And then you're going to break down the theory so you can explain what it is you are doing. Most people don't make it that far because most people are unaware of this. Most people make it to tradesmen. They learn it intuitively and they say, well, I'm done. I don't have to understand what I'm doing. I just need to do it, which is why a lot of people say, you just got to figure it out. Use your intuition. They don't have an intuition yet. They haven't learned the skill yet. You're not born with that intuition. This is how you create intuition. So this whole use your intuition, just use your intuition. They haven't learned the skill. They're apprentices. They don't have the intuition yet. And because no one understands teaching, no one's teaching this. So this is huge when you are consciously choosing to change. I think of all the education that I have, of all the knowledge, this is like, but I learned this from Plato and Socrates. But I didn't learn this from Plato and Socrates from teachers in philosophy, college, telling me about the man Plato. I know jack and fucking shit about the man Plato. I learned Socratic method. I learned how to use logic. That's all this was, just the tools. And then I figured the rest out on my own. But I knew enough to go, oh, you're not just figuring it out. You are training your intuition into a habit so you can theorize and break it down so you can understand it. You are dissecting theory. You are dissecting intuition. I'm going to write that down. Dissecting. No, I want to put it over on my whiteboard. Dissecting intuition. True learning is dissecting intuition after you have trained a skill into your intuition. That is learning. It has nothing to do with memorization. Nothing to do with memorization. So there it is. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, when it comes to parenting, because parenting is a huge, how do I apply this to my kids? Role model. Role model. I'm going to say it so many times, just role model. You want to change somebody, change yourself. Show them how it's done. Role model. Set the example. I have something that I love doing. I love this so much. I offer a free Triadic Healing course. And one of the very first questions I ask people when they start the course is, are you a tree or are you a mirror? Which course do you want? How do you want to go about this? Now, it doesn't matter. They're going to get the same course, but it matters in the sense of their mindset. So every relationship you are in, you are either a tree or you are a mirror. Now, your partner, your husband, your wife, your children, your teachers, your mentors, me, we're all something. I am a tree. I'm going to tell you that right now. I am a tree. I'm going to make that very fucking clear to you. I am a tree. But if you're a mirror, you need a tree. Most people are mirrors, and most people have partnered up with other mirrors. I'm just going to let that sit for a minute. Most people are mirrors. That's why we're sheep. I really want to take a step back from the word sheep for a minute. It's not derogatory. We're supposed to be sheep. We really are. That's the apprentice stage. You're a sheep in the apprentice stage. We're going to have a very gentle, loving topic about this now. Sheep is not a derogatory term. It is stage one of learning. We're mirrors. Role model learning. When you stop being an apprentice, you move into sheep level 2, which is called tradesman. The master is the tree. The master is the tree. So you're going to have to be a sheep. And then you're going to learn how to be a sheep and a tree. And then you're going to learn how to be a tree. Now, most people, because of the education being so bad in this country and around the world, most people never make it past sheep. And that's where everyone's like, oh, think for yourself. Trees really need to bring it down a little bit. Really, this is, again, equal footing. Now, you can be an apprentice tree. I am a master tree. We call me a philosopher. Master trees are philosophers. A philosopher is a master tree. That's the difference. An apprentice tree is a master. So when you have mastered being a tree, you are a philosopher. That's the difference. So you're supposed to be a sheep. It means you're not learning because the educators aren't doing their job because they're sheep. So sheep are teaching sheep how to sheep. And as a result, there's this logic loop, catch-22 going of sheep being sheep. But because it's all role model learning, everyone's now a mirror. Everyone's now a mirror. You need to be a mirror when you're an apprentice. You need to be a mirror when you are a tradesman. But you need a tree so you know, oh, I'm supposed to be a tree. We need to know what trees look like. We need to learn from trees. But all the teachers are mirrors. So whenever you step into a relationship, you need to decide, am I going to be a mirror or a tree? There's a lot of mirrors who act like trees and they haven't learned how to be a tree. So they're treeing the wrong message. That's what teachers are. Is they are sheep, mirrors who think they're trees, acting like trees when they haven't gotten the education. So understanding if you're a sheep or a tree, it's going to go, a mirror or a tree, it's going to go a long way with the right mindset. You're supposed to be a mirror until you have mastered the intuition and you understand the theory. Comprehension of theory is when you go from mirror over to tree. Comprehension of theory. If somebody, Einstein, love that man. If you can't explain something clear enough, then you don't understand it enough. Albert Einstein. So if someone claims that they are a teacher, how well can they explain it? Do they say, I don't know? They're not qualified to teach you. Do they say, well, just because this is what I was taught, because the government says so? These are not teachers. These are sheep pretending to be trees. So you really need to look for the mirrors who are pretending to be trees, because they're really sheep and they are not qualified to teach you. And now you're putting junk in your head without being aware, because you trust them. They have compromised the equal footing. They have compromised the equal footing. In most cases, they are more concerned about their superiority and lording their power over us with their degrees or their knowledge, rather than equal footing. And this I learned from Plato. That I learned from Plato. That I learned from Socrates. That is why the amphitheaters were amphitheaters, because the philosopher and the educator's true position is on the floor, looking up to the students. Equal footing. That's why every amphitheater was designed the way an amphitheater is. So with the whole program, Philosophical Coffee, everything that I'm doing here, I have the theory, which is Triadic Healing. I have the application and technique, which is the game. And then I have the discussion, and that is Philosophical Coffee, is the discussion. Now, I'm going to go ahead and change things over to allow comments. I think I'm going to do that when I have somebody to actually manage my comments. I'm debating on that. It needs to be open discussion. I also have a newsletter. It's free, where you can join. It's for people who are in Triadic Healing or the game, and they can access the newsletter. And you can ask me questions. It's on my Linktree account. If you go down below, there's a way you can ask me questions. And then I answer the questions in my newsletter, in the Healing Garden newsletter. So that's one way. And this is what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to figure out how to open discussion without me. Like I need to figure out how to manage things. And that's what I was doing last night. Was I just have to manage the input and I have to nurture the output. By the way, that is power economics at work, is managing the input and nurturing the output. Huge on power economics. So I do take requests. If you have something you want discussed, if you have something that you want me to focus on, I absolutely focus on it 100%. I love doing that. So I take requests. And then, like I said, it's going to be very much a whatever. Yeah, I've got a list here of things to talk about. I have a list of things to talk about. I'm going to have a jar. So as I have things, because I get more ideas than I can manage, and I love to put them in a jar. And if ever I am short on ideas, I can just pull it out and, oh, there you go. There's a topic for today. So I'm probably going to have an idea jar. The idea jar is going to be great. And then what will happen is, as people ask questions, I will either address them right away or I will put them in the idea jar. So if you want to add an idea to the idea jar, you can. And again, that's all through my contact Anna. That's available. And Triadic Healing Part 1A is now available. It's free, and it gets you through the first 6 ethical perspectives. We'll be covering that. If you want to play the game, that is also available. It's something different. And it's very much a you choose. You figure out how much of all of this you want. and you have, these are the resources, and I'll provide you with a list of all the resources, but it's really, the school consists of Triadic Healing, which is the theory. It consists of the application, the technique, and then the discussion, which is philosophical coffee. And then you can just cycle through those as you need, however much you need it. It's fine. So that is definitely something that, huge useful tool. And then I've got 3 websites to balance this massive Leviathan. And that will provide you with all the different utensils and tools. We are in the process of building the websites. The websites are built, but they are, when I have the money, then I will be like completely updating and upgrading them and like vamping them up. But for now, they are sufficient. They are getting the job done, and that's perfectly okay. So yeah, I love the idea of the wolves, the sheep herders, or the stupid herders, and then the sheep. I love that. That's a great, I got to revisit that. So that's something I want to revisit. And trauma words is something I definitely want to go through. Trauma words is huge with being able to assess where everything is. As far as if you're looking for something complete and thorough, that's where you're going to want to get into Triadic Healing, because that's laid out completely. And the whole thing is designed, this is what I was trying to say that I got off topic with. The whole thing is designed to be an individual stand on your own. So you can, if you want to, you can choose to just do philosophical coffee. You can choose to just do the game. You can choose to just do Triadic Healing Part 1A or all of it. So you can, this is 100% however much you want. You can choose to put all 3 of them together. If you put all 3 of them together, it's really fucking impactful. It is a powerful tool. And it is literally parenting, teaching, ethics, and power economics. And those are it over and over again. Is, yeah, ethics, power economics, parenting, and teaching. A lot of people describe my work as, oh, this is all the stuff that we should have been learning and never did. Yeah. And this is something I'm really still trying to wrap my head around is, and I'm down to the last. So whenever you have an idea, whenever you build a company, entrepreneurship, whenever you build a company, you're out here and you see all the pieces scattered all over the floor, and you're supposed to consolidate and get closer and closer. And as you build it up, this is you structuring it down, simplifying it. And this is the simplification process so that you can then create a message, create your marketing. This is a part of entrepreneur building that is not talked about ever. You start off with your idea and your business, and you can see all of the components, and there's components scattered all over the floor. And this is usually the part where people start to market it. You've got idiots, sheep herders, idiot sheep herders coming and saying to you, oh, you got to market this. You need to get your message straight. No, dipshits. You're at stage 4. You're talking about stage 1. So they're giving you the wrong instructions out of order. I'm sorry. If you are a business owner or an entrepreneur and you've been struggling, this is one of those theories on business that they're not telling you about. There is a right order of operations. And if you do not do them in the right order, it's not going to work. So a lot of people are at stage 1 of business building, and they don't know that they're looking at a whole lot of ideas and components. I got an idea. That's where it starts. I got an idea. I want to be a business owner. So you have the, I want to be a business owner, and I've got an idea. Some people are, I want to be a business owner. I have no ideas. We're going to talk about that too. So there is the desire and the want to be a business owner. And then there is the idea. Now, if you don't have the idea, well, that's a whole nother thing. We're going to talk about that much later. For now, components. So you have an idea and everything is scattered all over the ground. So stage 2 is you literally scientific methoding this thing with your intuition, with your, okay, what do I want to do? What is this going to look like? Let's identify, let's label, let's categorize, let's define. It is overwhelming, especially if you don't have problem-solving skills. That is what I teach here is problem-solving skills. This is problem-solving 101. And once you get it all together, then you have to condense it, simplify, and now you're at stage 3. But, and usually this is the part where people go, oh my God, suddenly my message is much clearer, but you're not done yet. Just because you've condensed it and you've simplified, there's actually like 2 or 3 more steps between that point and the next point. It's not until you can get it down to one concept. For instance, my concept, ethical leaders. Ethical leaders. It took me 2 years to go through this process to get to the words ethical leaders. What this is a mathematical problem-solving skill. I will be teaching it to you. It is taught in Triadic Healing. It is taught in the game. What it is it teaches you the stages and the steps of problem solving so that you understand the theory of problem solving, and you are given an area where you can apply it so you can see it and understand it. So this concept, this ethical leadership, all of it, allows you to take a step back, assess the situation, math, then label, identify it, scientific method, and then you condense it and you simplify it. When you simplify it, you understand it. Einstein. And if you aren't there at the point where you've simplified it, you haven't learned enough. This is what he was talking about. This is the problem solving that Einstein used to get to where he was. This is what Plato teaches us. So once you learn this skill, it's the ability to simplify it, and then you repeat the process, simplifying it again, and then you repeat the process. So you keep condensing it. It's equivalent to Guardians of the Galaxy when the god threw the ball of power at his son, and he like condensed it down into a ball, and they start playing ball. It's that you're condensing it down into this ball. Once you get down to 1 or 2 words, you're set. What do I do for a living? I teach ethical leaders. I teach ethical leaders. I teach ethical parenting. I teach ethical living. That's what I do. I am an ethical teacher. That is what I do. I teach ethics. I teach ethical government, ethical leadership, ethical everything. I teach how it's done, the theory, all of it. I teach you how to apply it to problem solving, your life, your relationships, your teaching skills, everything. And once you get it condensed down, then the marketing literally just falls to you. If the marketing isn't falling into your lap, if the messaging isn't falling into your lap, you're not ready for it. It's the last stage of business. And this is something that a lot of people, no one knows this. Plato knew it. Plato's the only one who knew this. When you get it right, the answers fall into your lap. But you have to follow the right order of operations. You have to follow the sequencing. And once you follow the right order of operations and the right sequencing, it literally just falls right into you. When it falls right into you, you found the formula. For instance, one of the things that I said often was manage your input and nurture your output. That is a formula that I found in this process. And it's very much, it's like the idea of where you want to get to when you are doing entrepreneurship and business is you want to manage your input and you want to nurture your output. Now, this is not something you are going to do on stage 1. That is like the last stage. You don't do that until your marketing is starting to flow to you. If you have to think and work hard for your brand or your marketing, you're too soon. You're skipping steps. And this is the problem. This is power economics, by the way. This is power economics. This is not the fucking shit you learn in school. Not at all. They don't teach you this shit. They teach you poor man economics to keep you poor, so you keep working for the man. They don't teach you this shit. So when you, and I'm not going to say, when you figure this out, there is no figuring it out. I figured it out and I wrote the formulas for you, so I'm giving it to you. When we cover power economics, we're going to be covering this. I'm going to be walking you through the entire step-by-step process. And it's not going to be anything you've heard out there because this is done with mastery and intuition and philosophy and theory. This is done via Mother Nature's law of math, logic, and physics. So once you understand, oh, so X needs to happen, then B needs, this is called mathematical sequencing. So when you understand mathematical sequencing, suddenly you're in a position where you can deliberately and with intent do A, B, C in the right sequencing. That way you get the results you want. Anything less than that is trial and error. And that's the difference. You have the choice of trial and error, or you can follow a formula. Bottom line, those are your options: trial and error or formula. The question you need to be asking is, where are the formulas? We've been trial and erroring on this whole time. It took me 40 years to find the formula. So that's how I have the formula. Now you can continue to trial and error. It took me 40 years while studying philosophy, Plato, ontological studies, math, physics, biology, art, chemistry, all of it. 40 fucking years of just learning. Or you can do my work and just, there you go, there's the formula. And that's the difference. With cooking, we have the formulas. That's what recipes are. Those are just recipes. Those are just formulas. So once you have the formula, you can stop trial and error. No one trials and errors anymore. Okay, a lot of people trial and error in cooking, but we don't have to. You can just learn the technique, learn the skill, learn the application. Look at that. The theory, what did I say? The theory, the discussion, the technique, and the application. Application is crucial. Application and discussion are crucial. Those teach you more than anything else, discussion and application. So we'll be covering that. Exploratory dialogue is what I refer to as the discussion. It is so, so important. Exploratory dialogue is vital for comprehension. So what I'm going to do, this is 100% in tribute to Plato, is doing a philosophical lounge where I will be available, and I'm going to be very, I limit who has access to me, because there's nothing I hate more than a pompous, condescending student who's not there to learn, but there to teach without my consent. So I do not allow access to me often. So I got to figure out how to address the philosophical lounge. Honestly, what I'm thinking about doing is doing I'll figure it out. I'm still troubleshooting that. That way I can keep myself safe and protected, while also giving people access to me so we can have that discussion. I strongly recommend, and this is something I'm going to be doing, is build yourself a guild. Literally get yourself a guild, and you can take what I've got here and then discuss it among yourselves. That's huge, huge. Build yourself a philosophy guild. A philosophical guild. Yeah, a philosophical guild. And that would be fucking awesome. I really want to do guilds. That is so fucking awesome. So that's my nerd thing all coming out. And that will actually tie in beautifully with the game. You're supposed to play the game together with people. So that's a fantastic way of, hey, I'm playing this game and I'm looking for a guild. And it's equivalent to a done for you DM-less RPG game. That's exactly what it is. It's a scavenger hunt. It's where I play the part of the NPC. I play the role of I'm an NPC, and I am the quest giver. So you can play the game, and this is all application and technique. So it gives you agendas and quests to do in the real world, so that as you go through them, you get the 12 ethics. You learn the 12 ethics through everything that I instruct you and give to you. It's really, oh my God, I love the game. So guilds is really where I would strongly recommend getting together. Yeah, definitely getting together a group of people to discuss this. And that way you have someone where you can do exploratory dialogue with and you can discuss it. That is probably the most effective way of doing that. So I have this really solidly sketched out in my head now, and I have a really solid idea of where I'm going to take this and how. So thank you so, so much. Very, very excited about this next chapter. So thank you so much. And may the kindest of words always find you.